Today, Charts Today comes to you from Sydney. It's Tuesday, the 10th of December. We're standing here in my home office in Manly, looking down Sydney Harbour to the central business district. Glorious day here, a hot December day, pretty windy outside. But today I want to talk to you about the Bloomberg targets. We launched them on Bloomberg yesterday, and a lot of questions have already come in. So we're going to do charts today using the Bloomberg targets on the Bloomberg. So let's get down to it. Okay, so here are the targets on Bloomberg. This is the S&P 500 index. To get the targets, just go to the app portal. If you type appslin.go, it will take you to the apps portal and you can take a trial of the targets there. Here they are on the charts. There's three main elements to the targets. We have the levels, which are marked on the chart. These are support and resistance levels. These are explained in the longer video, which I'll put the link in the bottom of this video, and then also the midpoint average, because that's quite important. We just want to be above trend to put more credence onto upside targets, and we'll work through that as we go, remembering that long presentation is there, and then the price targets themselves. So those are the three elements that come with the studies when you take a trial. So this is the S&P 500 index, remembering that in July we had this buying thrust. That's what this is marked here. We then locked that buying thrust. That's an uninterrupted buying thrust. This is a 0.5% unit size. We pulled back and then we activated that thrust, giving us a potential new target that was given back in early September to 6,621. Now, we haven't got there at all, but that is the long-term target, and that was the target that was given, and we're running slowly below that track. This is a 2-to-1 ratio. That's the standard that we recommend, but clearly we are still heading up, and we may need to just adjust that frame. So on the S&P 500, we're above the 21-day midpoint average. We've got good levels of support here marked on the chart, and that upside target is still in train. If we look, so I've done an index, a stock, a bond yield, a currency, a commodity, gold, and Bitcoin. So just trying to cover different instruments here. I saw this one on on LinkedIn yesterday, someone commenting on BP, and whenever I see something like that, well, I just want to go to the chart and just press the targets and have them on my chart. So here we're seeing the targets for BP. You might want to look back historically. So we had a downside thrust there. That was where the target was activated. The target was given. This happened. We met a little bit quicker. Another downward thrust here, generating another downside target, which has pretty much been as good as met now. That was the downside target. We can say that was met. And now we have a further downside target off this thrust, a series of selling thrusts below the 21-day average all the way down. And then we're seeing here now that just yesterday, in fact, this was orange, it's just turned green because we've activated this upside target. So we've now got a mixed picture with BP. The trend is still pretty much down, but we do have conflicting targets, and that is worth just remembering there. So really quite key there. If we look at the US 10-year yield, we're seeing here that we had this upside target on the US 10-year yield. We had a downside target given previously. That was met pretty much on time. And then we have a new upside target given in September for 10-year yields in the US. Interestingly, 4.5 is definitely that 4.5% level. That's the high mark there on that resistance level. That is really what we want to see breaking before we would put more credence towards this target. And of course, we've got a downside support level at 3.99. So it really is a case of between 4 and 4.5%. And we're in that range, and we're waiting to see what happens next. Now, if you went to the 60-minute chart with your targets on, you would start to get a shorter term picture, which can be useful if you're trading, of course, shorter term. Now, this one's really interesting. This is the dollar index, and there are no targets here. And it does follow that you don't always get a target, and the way to deal with that is to actually change the unit size. So let's do that. So we can go here, and straight away we can change the unit size. We're using 0.5% as our standard. That's a good size to use normally, but now I'm going to use 0.25, which is a little bit more sensitive, and we're seeing here now that brings targets onto the chart. So really quite interesting now that we do have this upside target on the dollar index. We have been pretty much going to track here. 112 is the upside target. That seems unlikely. This target was given when the dollar index was back at 104. That was the initial move, then the pullback, and then we activated that. We got to 108. So halfway to the target, if you like. We've pulled back. If we broke above that 108 level, we'd start to look quite seriously at that target again. And of course, you've got the support levels there as well. Taking a look at crude oil. Again, this is a really interesting one. We've had downside targets being given here. I showed the last 5 targets, and I'm using the time price projection method. In that longer term video, it's all explained, but these are the default settings, if you like. This is 2 to 1, downward thrust given, gives a new target at that dot there. That was the downside target given. We were actually happened a bit faster. This time round we happened a bit faster. So it tells us that we can probably use for the downside maybe 1 instead of 2 units of price. Now we've got a mixed picture. Really quite interesting. The trend is still pretty much down. We are below the 21 average. This 70 level for Brent crude, really important. If we break that, that is pretty bearish. And we've got some targets here. 70 is the support level. That's a double support level being tested twice. That's marked on the chart, and those come with the Linton levels. Now we see here we've got this upside target, but we're not paying a lot of credence to that because we've still got a downside target. The overall picture is pretty much down, and what we expect to see is that upside targets are not met in uptrends and downside targets are exceeded in downtrends. And again, we cover that in the longer term presentation. Gold. Now gold's a really interesting one. This target was given back in June. It was activated in August, and the target was 2835. That target was given back at 2479. We actually only got to about 2789. So 2790 was the level we got to. That's marked on the chart there. But now we have these orange circles, and these are really quite key because whichever one is activated is going to give us a heads up as to which way gold goes next. So really quite interesting there. Watch for those, and this will turn green if we activate that target, and this one will turn red if we activate that downside target. So really one to watch. Bitcoin, this of course has been a big story of late. Interestingly, the targets were given here, and we can see that the price has moved faster than the targets. So what we can do here is, again, we can adjust our target levels. And so the way we do that is we say, well, actually 1 is probably a better number than 2. So we update that on the chart, and we see here that now the targets are a little bit this one was met later, this one was met sooner, so it's sort of in between. There is one of the methods where you can actually use all of the past targets and how well they've been met to predict where the target should be based on the past. There's lots of different ways of doing this, but the key thing is that you've now got these price targets on your charts on the Bloomberg. Really simple to use. So if you want to have a go at using these, it's simply type APPS LIN.go. So APPS LIN Go will take you to these targets. Take a trial, see for yourself. Really great to use, and you can use them on any chart, of course. That's it for today. Until next time, see you then. Happy charting. Bye for now.